Hello, gardeners! I'm Xandra, here with your happy news. A husband and wife team in Canada have created a company called Open Ocean Robotics, where they've created a kind of robo-ship that helps us monitor our oceans for climate change and poaching. Their autonomous AI and solar-powered robo-boats, equipped with cameras and sensors, can be sent out anywhere in the ocean as a more eco-friendly way to help scientists and researchers gather data on things like Arctic melting, sea level increases, and changes in the temperature and currents, which have impacts on the health of our marine species and their ecosystems. This is great news because one of their solar power boats out there for a week-long mission instead of a traditional crude oil research vessel that produces greenhouse gas emissions is like taking 100 cars off the road for a year. Besides the research side of things, their boats are also used for immediate real-time monitoring on poachers. Illegal fishing accounts for 20% of all wild fish caught, and it's a $30 billion a year industry. Their hope is that their boats can help reduce that. Their boats can also help monitor for oil spills or detect intentional dumping, and can also aid in cleanup effort when it comes upon an area with a spill. Protecting those oceans you love so much, Brian.
Well, you know what I think? I think that I do absolutely love the oceans. Haven't spent near enough time this year. But I wonder if there's a fishing application where we can use one of these to go out and find schools of fish for us and then follow it down with another boat. So
I'm sure there's an application.
I think they're really practical, but great story. That is something fun and, you know, something I certainly never heard of and really makes a lot of sense.
Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra, here with your happy news. Your garden is a symphony of sound, and I'm not talking about the buzzing bees or the chirping birds. I'm actually talking about the plants themselves. For the past 6 years, scientists and researchers have been testing lots of different plants to see if they're making any kind of consistent sound. The results of this study came out recently, and it turns out they do make sound. And it's even at a level that's about the same loudness as our own human voices. But the reason why we can't hear them is because it's on an ultrasonic frequency that our ears can't hear on its own. But animals and insects likely can. Their research has shown that healthy plants make about 1 sound per hour on average, while unhealthy, dehydrated, or damaged plants make much more noise, like dozens per hour, perhaps as a distress signal. Currently, they don't know why plants make these sounds, but they do have a few hypotheses. They could be to guide insects or animals to aid the plant, or maybe it's just another way that plants are communicating with each other. Maybe we'll know one day, but Brian, I'm just wondering, what kind of sounds do you think your nursery is making out there? Like, do you think the birds have been harmonizing with the plants this whole time?
I wonder if these people eat a lot of gummies that write these articles.
You think?
Know, that they can hear all their plants, you know, see sun rays and, and all kinds of fun things.
Special microphones. A special software program they developed with the microphones to interpret the sounds. To us, it sounds kind of like clicking sounds, like variations of it. But, you know.
Sounds like an old cartoon with, "Help me, Mr. Wizard, I need a little help," when those ones get dry, you know. So maybe they're trying to talk to us and we're just not paying enough attention. Really interesting. Appreciate the article.
Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra, here with your happy news. Seaweed keeps proving itself to be a ridiculously versatile resource, and we've talked about some of the many eco-friendly applications that people from around the world have found for seaweed. From feeding it to cows to cut down on methane to creating new fuels and new packaging options, countries are always testing out this material for all sorts of new applications. Now, a new breakthrough in research from the University of Leeds in the UK has given us a practical and eco-friendly application for an invasive brown seaweed species in the Caribbean by turning it into a biopolymer compostable plastic wrap that has potential for mass production applications in food storage. The wrap can withstand moisture, which makes it capable of storing fresh foods like fruits and veggies, and it can also withstand heat up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Best of all, once it's tossed, the wrap is completely compostable in only 2 to 3 weeks. Brian, we love Earth Day, and it started in the 1970s, but nowadays it's globally recognized and celebrated by nearly 1 billion people every year. And this year's official theme is Invest in Our Planet, which I think is something we talk about all the time on this show, right, Brian?
Absolutely. Hey, and back in the 70s, I was there.
You were at the first Earth Day, I'm sure.
We saw, what's amazing, the difference is there was a time whenever the headline in the Republican Gazette newspaper would be a full page ad about Earth Day, and you couldn't pick up a story today where it wasn't celebrated. And perhaps we need to go back that direction a little more. Great story today. Thanks, Xandra.
Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra, here with your happy news. With summer coming up, you might be thinking about a beach vacation, one popular destination being the Cancun beaches in Mexico. However, there's been a problem where an excessive amount of sargassum seaweed has been making its way to shore, bringing along with it a smelly, rotten egg scent that covers the beaches. Because of this, the governments in Cancun have been required to clear away as much as 40,000 tons of the seaweed just to keep their beaches clear and tourist-friendly. But all that seaweed just goes to a waste landfill. That was until a local gardener saw the problem and wanted to come up with a better, more eco-friendly solution to the seaweed problem. Omar Sanchez started asking for some of the seaweed to be diverted to him instead of the landfill while he experimented with baking it in a kiln. This is where he was able to figure out a way to make an adobe-like eco-brick made out of the seaweed that even passes building regulation. His company, Sarga Block, diverts a lot more of that seaweed today, and his local cleanup crew provides work for 300 families. The adobe-like blocks are made up of 40% sargassum seaweed, and from 2021 to present day, he's used almost 6,000 tons of the stinky stuff to fire blocks which he's used to build structures all around the local area. He's even been fortunate enough to donate 14 homes to families in need. Brian, it sure seems like there is a lot you can do with seaweed. I mean, I feel like we're finding out more and more each week.
It's just not for eating and smoking anymore, is it? That's a pretty
right.
Amazing story, Xandra. That's one of those kind of ideas that, takes a creative mind. It's hard to explain why the mind got creative. Maybe he was listening to the right music, or maybe he woke up and the sun was just right in the morning. Who knows? But what?
The UN called it a stroke of brilliance that he came up with, really. Like, it's a good project.
A phenomenal project, and it's a great use for a product. And, I would imagine it would be fairly lightweight and fairly porous so that it would also be a good insulator, especially down in Cancun on a hot day. And it's amazing what we can come up with when we just try. Great story.